Hello. When it comes to prison breaks, we immediately think of two famous films and TV shows. The movie, The Shawshank Redemption, and the hit 2005 series Prison Break starring Wentworth Miller. These classic works left a deep impression on audiences, and their inspiration mostly came from real-life events. In reality, there have also been many successful prison escapes. For example, the Alcatraz escape in the 1960s, when several inmates managed to flee from a prison surrounded by the sea. However, most successful escapes like those in the movies happened because prisons at that time had outdated facilities and technology. Today, most prisons are equipped with advanced devices, making it nearly impossible for inmates to escape. Yet, the case I want to tell you about today didn't just happen in a modern prison, it happened in a facility where no inmate had ever escaped since its founding 185 years ago. This was the Clinton Correctional Facility escape in 2015, only about 8 years ago. Clinton Prison is located in the town of Dannemora, New York, USA. It was built in 1844. Nearby is a mountain called Lion, and the prison was built there so that inmates could easily work on the mountain, mining, and laboring. By 1877, the prison became almost overcrowded due to the rapidly growing number of inmates, so they decided to expand, renovate, and add more cells and facilities. They also raised the prison walls to the height of a 4- or 5-story building, turning it into a place to hold the most dangerous criminals. The facility had one of the world's top security systems, with nearly 1,000 guards working in shifts and nearly 3,000 inmates. It was known as the largest and most secure prison in New York State, where the chance of escape was nearly zero. However, in 2015, 2 inmates successfully escaped from Clinton Prison. So, what exactly happened that day, and how did the 2 inmates manage to break out? Next, let's rewind to June 6, 2015. At 5:30 a.m. on June 6, 2015, the guards at Clinton Prison began the usual morning roll call. The cells in Clinton Prison were divided into several sections. Besides the regular cell blocks, there was a special area called the honor block. The cells in the honor block were different from the regular ones. The cells here were relatively large, and each was occupied by only one person. In addition, inmates in this area could schedule daily time to watch TV, make phone calls, and even use the kitchen, showers, and studio. The facilities here were the best in the entire prison. Most inmates in Clinton Prison were serious offenders serving life sentences. The honor block was a place every prisoner longed to live in. Only those with good behavior and no disciplinary violations were allowed there. In this block, cells number 23 and 24 were adjacent to each other on the 4th floor. One cell belonged to Richard Matt, born in 1966, imprisoned for kidnapping and murdering his 72-year-old former boss in 1998. The other cell belonged to David Sweat, born in 1980, convicted for killing a police officer in 2002. Early that morning, after completing the roll call in the regular cells, the guards moved on to the honor block. When they reached cells 23 and 24, the guard called out Matt and Sweat's names, but no one answered. Looking inside, it seemed they were still sleeping. Annoyed, the guard banged hard on the cell bars to wake them up. After calling out 2 or 3 times with no response, the guard pulled out his flashlight from his belt and shined it into the cell. He realized something was wrong, opened the cell door to check, and discovered that both inmates were gone. The guard immediately reported it to the command center. Immediately, the alarm went off. All the prison cells were locked down. All police officers were deployed to carefully search every corner of the prison. After the search turned up nothing, the warden immediately reported the situation to the governor of New York, Eventually, more than 450 officers and several helicopters were dispatched to join the search. Roadblocks were quickly set up on all major routes. All vehicles passing through were subject to strict inspection. A door-to-door search was carried out throughout the town. Because the fugitives were dangerous criminals, the manhunt was intensified. This not only made it harder for the inmates to escape, but it also helped calm the anxiety of local residents. So, how exactly did they escape? After an investigation, detectives found a neatly cut rectangular hole under the bed. The hole was located in cells 23 and 24 of the honor block, where the 2 inmates were held. That spot was originally a vent covered by an iron grate. The hole was just large enough for a person to crawl through. Behind the opening was a narrow passage filled with pipes. Their cells were on the 4th floor. After crawling through the vent, they climbed down to the first basement through a space behind the corridor. There, they cut a hole into a steam pipe. The pipe was 60 centimeters in diameter, just enough for a person to fit inside. Before leaving, they even left behind a taunting note. It had a smiley face drawn on it and the words, "Have a nice day." After entering the pipe, they continued crawling for hundreds of meters toward the sewer system. Through the sewers, they climbed up a ladder, opened a manhole cover, and successfully escaped. The spot where they emerged was about 120 meters from the prison wall. Let's take a look at the map of the prison. Here is the location of the 2 inmate cells. And here is where they exited through the sewer. That point was about 120 meters from the prison wall, with guard towers number 1 and number 2 located not far from the manhole. According to the guard's statements, a routine head count had been conducted at 10:30 p.m. on June 5th. The night before the escape, they confirmed that both Matt and Sweat were inside their cells. Therefore, the escape likely took place between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock a.m. the following morning. Because visibility outside the prison at night was very low, and since no one had ever escaped before, the guards in the 2 watchtowers were careless that night and failed to see the inmates leaving through the manhole. During the investigation, detectives began to suspect that the 2 men could not possibly have escaped from such a high-security prison on their own. Someone must have helped them. Investigators checked Matt and Sweat's communication records with the outside world to look for clues but found nothing suspicious. They then ruled out outside assistance and shifted their focus to within the prison itself. An internal investigation was launched. On the list of suspects was an employee named Joyce Mitchell, 51 years old. Every day, she assigned sewing-related tasks to inmates and taught them basic tailoring skills. Some inmates told investigators that Sweat had an unusual relationship with Mitchell. Mitchell often called Sweat into her office alone for various reasons, and this happened more than just once or twice. Their relationship was ambiguous, since Mitchell, being 51, was no longer young. This made them a hot topic of gossip among inmates after meals. In addition, many inmates also saw Matt entering and leaving Mitchell's office alone several times. After discovering these clues, investigators believed this was no coincidence. So they immediately summoned Mitchell, and she confessed everything. It turned out that Mitchell and her husband were both employees at Clinton Prison. Over time, their marriage had grown distant, creating an opportunity for outsiders to exploit. All the inmates in Clinton Prison were men, and she was the sewing instructor there. As a result, she received attention and affection from Sweat and Matt. Gradually, Mitchell developed feelings for them, something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Matt and Sweat realized this and continued to seduce her with words of love. Eventually, they won her over both emotionally and physically. Matt and Sweat took advantage of the situation, feeling tension between Mitchell and her husband, pointing out how unhappy and dull her marriage had become. If Mitchell helped them escape from prison, they promised to put her first and take her to Mexico. They vowed to give her a brand new, happy life. Mitchell, 51 years old, was deeply moved by this, so she willingly provided them with hacksaw blades, chisels, screwdrivers, and other tools. Every day, she smuggled the tools in, hidden inside frozen food packages brought into the prison. Matt and Sweat would then take those food bags one by one back to their cells to retrieve the tools. In addition, Mitchell also gave them crucial information, such as the guards' patrol schedules and the layout of the prison's pipe system. As the investigation progressed, detectives discovered that, besides Mitchell, there were others inside the prison who had helped them. Matt loved painting and was a well-known artist inside the prison. He was transferred to the honor block for his good behavior. There, he had access to a dedicated art studio. Matt did many good deeds. He especially enjoyed painting portraits of famous people. Soon after, a guard named Palmer couldn't handle the pressure anymore and confessed to investigators that he liked Matt's paintings so much that he had given him wrenches, pliers, and other tools. In exchange for some of Matt's artwork, he thought Matt only used the tools to build picture frames, but never imagined they would be used for an escape. With those very tools, Matt and Sweat gradually created their escape route. Matt and Sweat had been preparing for their escape for over 6 months. They used hacksaw blades to cut through the vent grate beneath their beds. Every night at 10:30 p.m., a roll call was conducted, and every 2 hours, the guards made their rounds. To avoid detection, whenever a guard looked into their cells, they stuffed clothes under their blankets to make it look like someone was sleeping. Because the lights were dim and visibility was low at night, the simple trick was enough to fool the guards. After deceiving the patrol guards time and time again, they soon figured out how to escape through the steam pipe and spent months cutting a hole with a small hacksaw blade. During the winter, the steam pipes were filled with hot vapor from the heating system, so they chose to escape in June. During the summer, when the pipes were inactive, they crawled hundreds of meters through the steam pipe and reached the ground through a maintenance shaft. According to the original plan, Mitchell was supposed to pick them up at a predetermined location by car. At the same time, the two men had given Mitchell 2 pills to secretly give her husband. That way, they could kill him more easily. However, that night, due to the years of affection she still had for her husband, Mitchell couldn't bring herself to do it. The stress triggered a severe anxiety attack. Because of this, her husband took her to the hospital, which caused the plan to fall apart. That night, when the two men emerged from the tunnel and found no getaway car, they were forced to rely on themselves. Mitchell breaking the arrangement was something they had never expected. According to Mitchell's testimony, they only had a plan, but there was no plan B. Without Mitchell's help, escaping became extremely difficult for both of them. Although Clinton Prison was equipped with many advanced surveillance systems, unfortunately, those systems only monitored the inside of the facility. Outside, there were only a few cameras, and the spot where they escaped had none at all. Therefore, after the incident, the prison authorities had no idea where they had gone or which direction they had taken. According to the original plan, they were supposed to reach Mexico, but being in upstate New York, it was far too distant. Without Mitchell's car, the two likely changed their escape plan. Since no one knew which direction they were heading, police had no leads. By the second day, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced a $100,000 reward for anyone providing useful information. The police knew that the longer the search took, the harder it would be to catch them. So, they continuously deployed more officers, ramped up the search efforts, and set up checkpoints across all major routes. This forced the two fugitives to avoid main roads and stay away from people. As news spread, residents in the town and nearby areas became highly alert. Police were patrolling everywhere. If the fugitives tried to find food in town, the consequences would be disastrous. So, the two had no choice but to retreat into the forest to survive. On June 22nd, police received a call from a man named John Choate. He often took his dogs deep into the woods for hunting and had built a small cabin there for convenience. As he approached his cabin, he saw a man running away in the distance. When he entered, he found the place ransacked. Food and liquor were nearly gone. Police rushed to the scene, collecting food samples and other items for DNA testing. The results confirmed that the DNA belonged to Matt and Sweat. In the call, Choate mentioned seeing a man fleeing the scene. From that, police inferred that the two had split up and fled in different directions. Immediately, search teams divided up to sweep the surrounding areas. 4 days later, police found Matt running through the forest about 60 kilometers from the border and shot him dead. His body was covered in insect bites, blisters, and scratches, evidence of the suffering he endured during his 20 days on the run. 2 days later, Sweat was also shot and wounded by patrol officers just a few kilometers from the border. In his backpack, police found tools, insect repellent, maps, and snacks. Soon after, the media reported the capture of the fugitive. Residents took to the streets to cheer. They no longer had to live in fear. In February 2016, Sweat was sentenced to 7 more years in prison, in addition to his life sentence, and fined $80,000. Sewing instructor Mitchell was sentenced to 7 years in prison and fined $6,000. Prison employee Palmer received 6 months in jail and a $5,000 fine. To this day, the Clinton prison case has concluded. The New York State Police demonstrated a textbook manhunt operation. The 2 escaped inmates ultimately received the punishment they deserved. In reality, escaping from prison is extremely difficult. A single mistake in the plan can render all previous efforts useless. Even if you make it out, it's only the beginning. See you in the next case. Goodbye.